View from the Gutters, episode 23. Welcome to View from the Gutters, the comic book podcast where each episode we discuss a collected edition, trade paperback, or graphic novel, and then recommend and vote on the book for the next episode. Warning: the discussion portion of this show has massive spoilers for that book. On today's episode, we discuss Witch Doctor, and to skip ahead to the recommendation section, skip to 4206. Alright, welcome to the show. This is episode 23.
I'm going to go through and do a tally as to how many shows you start with. Alright.
Well, I didn't want me to start with. Howdy, folks! Welcome to this shitty show that we make!
Buenos noches!
Why do you have to say anything?
Well, from now on,
why does there have to be a first word?
I don't know.
You should just say a random
Welcome to
word.
the show! Here we
You're
are.
like,
That
Hassan
intro was
Pfeffer.
better. That one's better.
That was good.
There we go. Okay. Hi, boys and girls! We're on the show now, I guess.
All right, introduce yourself.
I'm Andrew Chard.
I'm Joe Preti.
I'm Tobiah Panshin.
I'm Matt McGinnis.
And I'm Cade Reynolds.
And I'm Joe Preti.
No.
Yeah.
I think
Off to a great start.
it's
Let
gonna
me
be
drink
one of
some more
those
of this
nights.
beer.
You have lost your Joe Preti privileges.
It's going to be one of those nights. I can already feel it.
Ugh.
For tonight, for the rest of the night, you are Dave.
I'm Dave Preti.
Hey, Dave. Welcome to the show. I know it's your
cool.
first time.
Actually, no.
Dave has a good life.
Yeah.
You've lost your Dave privileges. Now you're Tony.
Wait a minute. Is Tony single? Because if so, I'm leaving.
Tony's looking pretty good right now. If Tony's single.
This is
I'm
a
gonna drink more
podcast
beer.
about comic books.
why
I am
didn't you
surprised
not-
that we're not all
I don't know.
single.
why did you not bring beer for me?
I don't know.
I
Did you
think
want one?
I'm gonna sneak away while you guys are talking and get
Well.
some beer.
Well, you better bring me a beer
Bring
too.
me one, please.
All right.
Okay, what about the cocaine? Are we gonna do that too?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I
shit.
started-
The mics are still on, Joe. Let me mute those. Fuck.
shit. We're just kidding. We're
Hang
just
on.
kidding.
Pause.
There's no cocaine in it.
Pause. Okay, we're back.
Okay,
So
yeah.
we took care of that.
Yeah.
That's all edited out. We
So
didn't have
what
to
did-
edit anything.
What did we read?
What did we read?
Witch Doctor.
Which one?
Under the Knife.
Witch
Was it
Doctor?
Witch Doctor. Who's on first?
Yeah.
This isn't Abbott and fucking Costello, all right? All right, buddy.
Who's the doctor?
Okay, who wants to butcher the
Don't
names
even
on
go
this?
I'm going to. I will butcher the names on this.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Brandon Seifert.
Brandon
Yep.
Seifert.
And Lucas Kettner.
I believe so, yes.
That's-
Those are
that was
pretty
not too bad.
unbutcherable names.
Oh,
We
no,
did-
that's
we
pretty
did
good.
okay.
That's pretty good.
It's straightforward.
Pretty proud of us on that one.
I am always proud of us
Me
for
too.
being here.
Me too.
Brandon
you
actually
guys.
seems pretty awesome from the afterward notes where he just writes random shit. It's pretty cool.
Oh, I didn't even read
I
those.
didn't read the afterwards, but that's because I was in a hurry.
Me too.
I kind of did not plan my day well today.
I read the first one and then didn't bother with the other ones.
Did anyone read the foreword by Robert Kirkman?
I did.
No.
No, I didn't.
I never read
Is-
forwards or introductions.
I read them after I finish the book if I feel it's.
They're generally
Worth it.
pretty spoilery.
really?
This one.
Yeah.
This one wasn't.
I never read
some
them,
of
so,
them. I think sometimes they can put the story in context
Yeah.
pretty decently. Although I do think a lot of times they're pointless, and sometimes they make me really mad. Like Ryan Reynolds doing his
Oh, for
forward
well,
to.
Why wouldn't you want the Green Lantern to do?
I knew you were going to say that. And seriously, I don't blame him. I don't blame him.
I don't blame him.
I blame
No, I'm not mad at Ryan Reynolds.
people.
You just
Speaking
don't want to
of-
read what he has
I
to
just
say.
I don't give a fuck what he thinks about.
Speaking of the
Green
comic company
Lantern.
whose name we dare not speak, they lost another writer today. They lost
What's his face?
James Robinson.
James Robinson, yeah.
James Robinson walked.
He quit
Oh, wow.
Earth 2.
Quit Earth 2 and specifically quit DC as well. So that's good for them because you know
But,
they have
yeah.
so much writing talent right now. It's just
Yeah.
like
They're
they
overflowing
can't
with it,
can't possibly give everybody work, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think we're gonna have to tackle those books soon.
Oh yeah, you and I are working on something.
I think
we're
we're gonna-
Joe and I are brewing up a special episode.
We're thinking maybe tentatively something around the.
Don't give a
the
date.
second,
Please don't give a date.
Well, we're
Don't
maybe
hold us.
something for like the around the 2-year anniversary because that's coming up.
Okay, well we'll have to.
I mean, maybe
to
something around there.
find
It's nothing
something.
concrete.
Yeah.
We're
Maybe
still
the
gonna talk
2.5
about it.
year anniversary.
But we will say that we are going to talk about those books, and Toby's trying to touch my phone, and you don't do
I'm trying
that
to stop your phone from going
because
off.
that's how a motherfucker gets cut. where I'm from.
Touch
That's-
I was gesturing
That's how you
in
get
a
beer
manly
where
and
I'm
respectful
from.
fashion towards your
Grab that
phone.
You're
phone.
gonna touch my
I
phone.
was
I'm
trying
gonna
to
you
talk
a beer.
over the vibration sounds.
Well, you were doing a shitty
I didn't-
job.
I'm
I'll
gonna
answer that
I'm
phone
leaving.
you
for a
touch
beer.
my
I'm
phone.
leaving.
We'll buy you a beer, boy.
That's my friend tried to name from memory all 150 whatever original Pokemon, and he's calling me to tell me that he's thought of the last two because he literally fucking named like 148, 149 of them today from
Like,
memory.
in order.
I don't know that he did them in order. I know
Then
he
it's
started
not
with the
that
original
impressive.
name. Anyways,
Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't know the numbers for all the
Yeah.
Pokemon, then I have no respect for the man.
I have numbers for you, but I can't show them because this is a
Bulbasaur,
children's program.
Ivysaur,
Oh, we
Venusaur.
created a monster.
God, no dice. No dice. But,
So
Uh,
Matt, you recommended Witch Doctor. What did you think about it?
Wait, Matt doesn't get to say because he recommended it. We already know he likes it.
Yeah. This is my rodeo. Wait, no, I'm sorry.
I just feel like maybe this shouldn't be the Joe and Chard show all the time.
I mean, it kind of quite literally is.
Matt, go.
Yeah, it's my show.
Why did you recommend Witch Doctor? Because you didn't get to pitch it.
You're right. I didn't get to pitch it. The reason I recommended it is just because it was something that I thought was fresh. It was the idea that I at least haven't seen in any other comics. Is kind of a mashup of a bunch of different things I really love, and I thought it did each genre justice.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've pitched it to people as kind of like House meets Hellblazer meets like
It's a little Dr. Sleepless. thrown in
yeah
there for good
Dr.
measure.
Sleepless yeah.
The one that I compared it to most directly was Doctor Strange.
Well,
Yeah,
there you go.
he's-
You know,
he's
I didn't
like
even
a-
think about that.
Yeah,
but
he's
yeah.
like a dickish Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of imagine that Doctor House was
Right.
Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Like, he became the Sorcerer Supreme or whatever.
Also, the magic is nowhere near as clean as it is in the Marvel universe.
No,
It's
certainly
it's it's much messier.
That's
It also
that's why I kind of got the like Hellblazer concept.
it
Yeah,
reminded me a little
definitely.
bit of Wormwood Gentleman Corpse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was gonna
I got
say
yeah.
Doctor Who meets Wormwood.
I could see that.
Was-
I mean, he's not as.
I guess a little bit.
I mean,
Not
I feel like he's
space-time.
not as cryptic as Doctor Who. Like he doesn't.
Yeah.
He just doesn't know things. You
Yeah.
know? Where like Doctor Who just like doesn't want to tell you stuff. Like Witch Doctor, it seems like he's kind of.
You're
like,
learning
this-
with him, and
Yeah,
and
there's
that's
a burden placed on him, and he's kind of like trying to figure it out. He explains it to his partner by showing him a 40-year-old film that he's kind of like, I don't really know.
Yeah, he's like, do you want me to show it to you again?
Yeah,
'Cause,
you know as much as I do now. So, yeah, I feel like he definitely was kind of lacking the information. What we find out is that he basically just pulled a magic sword, and now he's the quote-unquote,
like savior.
sorcerer savior or whatever.
Yeah, he's destined to save us from the apocalypse.
Yeah, and he's not even sure how the apocalypse is supposed to happen, so he's just kind of, trying to figure it out
Well,
as we figure it
he's
out.
acting like a scientist. He's trying
Yeah.
to figure it out. He's examining things. He's doing medicine.
Yeah, and
He's
I think
learning.
the strongest issue for me, I didn't particularly enjoy that much at the beginning, and it got stronger near the end. But I do think the best issue was the first one in explaining how he works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Explaining they did a good job of being like, no, this isn't just magic. He hates the term magic even. Like when she's trying to explain to. There's a woman who captures a merman, and she's trying to explain how something happens, and she's like, "It's magic," and he's like, "Don't just magic it away.
Yeah.
There's an explanation,
Yeah.
and I need to know what it is because he is, he's trying to diagnose things. He's trying to learn information. So he's talking to the priest who gets the concussion. He's like, "You're not gonna pray because your brain is now expanded because your head's all messed up. You're gonna go, to a doctor." And that's
Yeah.
what he is. He's like
A witch doctor.
a medicine.
A
He's Dr. Witch Medicine Woman.
Doctor
He's a
Who-
witchy woman.
Yeah,
that's right.
He's a black magic doctor.
The other thing that I really, or the thing I guess that really stood out overall though, was the art. I really like the art, and I like the character design.
Yeah, no, I really like the art too. It was real sketchy and dirty, but I
Yeah.
felt like it was, in character of a kind of Arkham
Yeah,
style.
I really like the monsters that he created the character design for all the different creatures and like animals and stuff like that. I just thought it was like they were like scary and nutty and like over the top at the right points. And
the one character design I did not like was the girl Penny, because I just wanted her to fucking put some pants on. But when she does like go inside her own head, and there's like the Penny on the left and Penny on the left, monster on the right kind of deal. I thought that was brilliant. Like I love the design of both of those characters, and I realized later, like of course she doesn't care if she has pants on or not, because she's like not really human anymore. And at some point he kind of mentions it. He's like, I'm not really sure if Penny's in there anymore, but she's efficient. And then afterwards they have all the design sketches, and they have all the different design sketches for Penny, and they're all worse than the one they went with. So like where I didn't really like it that much, like it could have been way worse.
Yeah.
I actually really liked Penny. She was my favorite character.
She's also my favorite character. I just wish she had pants on.
It's kind of weird because I really like the colors in this. I think the colorist did a great job. But I actually like the art in the Zero issue, which was just black and white, better. Like I feel like the color's good and the inking's good, but they don't quite mesh in my mind.
It's like it's really dark, muddy colors and really sketchy lines, and they kind of like clash
it gets muddy
every
at
once
times.
in a while.
I liked it a lot.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Why is that?
I did. I liked it. I mean, I think one of the things we've been talking about is the idea of it, and it is kind of fresh, and it is. I think there's concepts there that have been there before, but the whole. I think it was kind of brought together in a way that was kind of like, oh, yeah, okay, I'm gonna come along with you on this ride. I think whereas Wormwood kind of falls short in a few things, they kind of force some of the humor and something, you know. I feel like this, I never feel like it's forced. I feel like the story kind of follows along. And the Doctor is definitely my favorite character. I can't, Vincent Morrow, is that his name?
Yeah.
Yep.
Vic Morrow, which is a reference. It's totally a reference.
To what?
Vic Morrow. He was an actor. No, Vic Morrow. Yes, he was an actor. He was. I may get this wrong, but I'm pretty sure Vic Morrow was an actor. The actor that got decapitated while filming Twilight Zone the movie. And somebody should look this up while I'm saying it on a device. In the helicopter scene in the very first vignette of the Twilight Zone movie, he gets something happens, but he got decapitated by the helicopter that he was on.
Like,
Yeah, for realsies.
Wow.
So I liked that little reference. I thought that was kind of an inside joke. I mean, I'm sure he did other things. He was an actor before that.
He was in the television series Combat.
Okay, all right. So that's just what I know him from.
That's what Wikipedia says.
Yeah. I just thought that was a funny. I was looking at that and it took me a second to like think about it.
That's cool.
But I mean, I like his approach to things. I think that he's. I like the House comparison, but I think he's better than House because I feel like House is the world's worst doctor. But on the other hand, I know that you don't watch House to watch him solve mysteries. You watch House because it's him. You're watching for him and his interactions. Yeah. But I feel.
I mean, he does solve the mystery though, so he's
he does,
kind of
'cause it's
inept,
always-
but also like does the thing.
He's also it's always lupus, right?
It's never lupus.
Oh, right, it's now. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think it's good. I like 3. 3 is a good number. I like Trinities, so it was pleasing to me there.
Yeah, I liked all the characters. I thought the Doctor was really strong, and I also liked his Navy, his ex-Navy
Navy
partner.
MT partner assistant. That was
I like it when he got all like Rambo-y and got to like kill a bunch of monsters.
Yes,
with his sword and the gun.
It was fun.
Don't stab him, slash him.
Yeah.
If you stab him, it'll go all
like,
sword and the stone on you. I have to admit that when he said that, I really wanted there to be a part where he picks up whatever he stabbed and just starts swinging it around like a weapon.
You'd have to be really strong.
Yeah.
You would, but there was a part of me that held out hope that I figured it wouldn't, but I also like the approach to like almost like science as magic or magic as science kind of like melding.
Well, it's that idea that, like, 200 years ago, what we would consider science or, even, like, fact now, they were, reticent about. So,
Well,
Yeah.
maybe a little bit more than 200, but...
I don't know. Well, some stuff,
It was-
I think that even 200 years ago was kind of, like, absurd that we do now, that they would have not
Well,
really
doctors
understood.
washing your hands in hospitals was not commonplace until...
Yeah.
Well, that's
like
because
60 years
gentlemen
ago.
do not have dirty hands, Joe.
Of course not. That's why the fetal birth rate or death rate was like astra-fucking-nomical, right? Because gentlemen don't have fucking germs on their hands.
Well, it's just, I don't know. There's just a lot of things that, like, have changed in the past
Oh, absolutely.
200 years, and so he's basically just way ahead of the curve. And
Yeah.
he's like, no, look, this stuff is all out there. We just don't really get it yet.
I did really like the setting design with the archons and the kind of basically the microfauna of these life forms that are
Right.
from another dimension
Yes, yeah.
that are all of these different things.
That's
I
like
thought that
the
was really
parasites that
well
Cthulhu has.
presented.
Yeah.
Are the monsters of today.
Yeah.
I also thought the character designs were incredibly strong.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I did have some misgivings about this.
I expected that, I think.
I feel
Well,
as if...
We've talked about freshman efforts before, and I think that this smacks of freshman effort. Like, there are good parts of it, but overall, the characterization I felt was inconsistent.
Mhm.
It reminded me of nothing so much as very early Dr. McNinja. If anybody else has read Dr. McNinja, it strikes me as like issue 1 Dr. McNinja.
Mhm.
And when you compare where he was then, Doc Hastings, to what he's doing now, I can see this guy taking a similar trajectory. I want to see what he's doing in 3 and 5 years.
Right.
But this is another instance where I have to say freshman effort.
It's
It's got a lot of good stuff in it, but it does never quite coalesces.
Yeah. And I think that was something I noticed about the doctors. We're all kind of like, oh, he's kind of like this guy, and he's kind of like that guy. And I think it's just because, like, he's never really, like, cemented as a
Is he
solid
wacky?
character.
Is he serious?
Yeah.
He kind of vacillates back and forth depending on what the situation is.
Right. I mean, he's quoting Outkast lyrics in one panel, and he's, like, being ultra serious about science and magic in the next panel, and it's kind of
Well,
like...
but I kind of like that kind of schizophrenic, like, or multiple personality kind of thing. I mean, he doesn't need to be one or the other. I don't think that that doesn't affect my, like, viewing of the cohesion of the book. This is a guy that's, like, seen shit that no human mind could fucking comprehend that easily. And he's just like, how does it work?
Yeah, but I just don't have a feeling of him as, like, a person.
Right. Like, I don't have a strong idea of what his character is.
Right. Yeah.
Well, and I feel like part of that comes from the fact that, I mean, this is a short trade. I mean, this isn't...
it's 4 issues.
It's four issues and a 0 issue. And each situation he's in, there isn't really much of an opportunity for, I guess, for him to be him, because he's always in these crazy situations. So you're only seeing him react to things. And who wouldn't react in, like, abstract and in crazy ways to all these different situations? About the only issue where you really I feel like you get to see him be him is when he's basically defending himself to the board of.
Oh yeah.
And I thought that's what, up until that point I'd been kind of on the fence about him. I mean, yeah, he was kind of funny and he's kind of zany, but I liked the supporting cast more than him. Yeah. What really kind of solidified his character to me is when he pulls out the sword and, like, stabs in the table and basically calls their bluff.
Yeah, he basically says, you assholes told me to do this job, and now you're trying to tell me how to do it.
Well, not even that.
Not even that.
He's like
I've been told to do this job by the universe.
Yeah, he's like you guys were elected. He's like, the universe told me to do this. He's like,
chosen, bitches.
Yeah, he's basically like, suck it. What? Like,
you want to do it? Pull the fucking sword out of the table, dude.
Yeah,
you fucking
you can't, well, and essentially, like, you can't do this job any better than I can.
Yeah.
So stop second guessing me.
Yeah.
You know, he kind of reminds me of, actually, is and not entirely, but I think there are shades of Spider Jerusalem there.
Yeah,
where he'll go off on a tangent. He'll dress up as Jesus and go and fucking kick the shit out of people at a religious fucking convention, but then you better not fucking cross him because he will fucking orate to you as he's stomping the shit out of you.
Well,
I think that was part of my problem with it, is that you can tell that the guy who's writing this, has a love for all of these references that he's making, but the character wears them too close to the skin. He hasn't internalized them. He is not a character unto himself. He is a collection of other characters.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And I think that some great characters are like that, but
Yeah.
at some point they do have to find their own legs. And like, I hope that in later issues he like solidifies what the Doctor is like.
Yeah.
'Cause we also don't know anything about him personally.
And that's kind of I think that's the problem with saying that we had 4 issues. This is an introduction to him. He hasn't. He's not fleshed out. There's been no time.
Yeah, I mean,
Actually-
compare Spider Jerusalem in Volume 1 of
Right.
Transmetropolitan, which is 3 standalone issues, to
Yeah.
where he is in Volume 6 or 7. You could make many of the same arguments. That's
Yeah.
true.
Absolutely. Because when you first start reading Transmet, you have no fucking idea. You're like, this guy looks like Alan Moore, and all he does is talk shit. Like, how am I ever going to like be able to kind of get into this character's head? However, and by issue 6, you're like, oh, you go fucking Spider, you go fuck that guy, Spider. You'll fuck him with your chair leg of truth, and it feels good. It's like,
It reminds me, like, when you watch a TV show for years, seasons 4, 5, 6, and then you go back and watch the pilot.
Yeah,
And all the
exactly.
characters are really sketchy, and they don't quite act like themselves,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it just seems really off.
And
That's
CTU
what this reminds
and
me
Jack
of.
Bauer, like CTU's like 2 phones and a glass wall. And
Yeah,
And,
like I want issues 1 through 4. They were pretty good. I enjoyed
Yeah.
them. Like I had some problems with it, but I
Yeah.
have problems with a lot of things. I want to read this series when it's on issue 50.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Like
I
I,
mean,
want to see what
and
this
I-
guy's doing. in 5
Unfortunately,
years.
I think it'll
It's-
probably never make it that
Well,
far
it'll be
because
a-
so
Probably
few
not.
comics do.
But,
It's
Yeah.
a series, but I think he's winning because he's not releasing it as an ongoing. It's
Yeah,
just it's
a series
of limited
mini
series, and I
yeah.
think that's where he's going to. And I agree with you. The potential is definitely there to just be like, oh, here's this kind of kooky collection of like 8 different characters that I really like. But I think I definitely saw glimpses of like this. He knows what he wants to do with this character.
Well, foreshadowing. The book that I brought to recommend this week was reminded me a lot of this, and it's why I brought it,
Nice.
because it's that freshman thing.
Right.
I can see that this guy has potential. I wanna keep my eye on him. I want to see what he does in
Right,
the future because I
right.
think that he could be a really good writer.
I just remembered what you brought.
So I actually have a story, semi-related to that. After we chose the book Witch Doctor last week, I went out looking for the book, and I found Witch Doctor Malpractice, issues 1 of 6 through 6 of 6. Picked them up thinking that was what we were going to talk about, and I just started reading them. And I got to the end of issue 6, and Brandon Seifert had this little outro that he had written, and it mentions that the trade paperback goes on sale July 19th, and I'm like, awesome, or June 19th. I'm like, awesome, and then I sit there for a second, and it sinks in, and I was like, if this trade isn't out, this probably isn't what we're talking about. And so then I did find the issues 1 through 4 that we are talking about, and I read them. However, the whole time I was reading this one, I felt that it was nowhere near as good as the Malpractice. Because
Right.
I started reading the Malpractice, I didn't even know the characters, but even right out of the gate of the second miniseries, even without knowing anything about them, it already felt like there was enough explanation in there to give me a grasp enough to hold me into the story, and I found that it was much better than the Under the Knife.
That's
Yeah.
good, and I think that's like a mark of a good miniseries when you
Yeah.
can like, or if he's gonna do a series of miniseries, like that's really strong that he can just like grab you like that, even if you haven't read the previous material.
Yeah.
Well, and kind of speaking to it being that much better, and you saying, I want to see where he is, 50 issues in or so far. I mean, I get the feeling that, and I'm pretty sure that it's true because he talks about it a little bit. But I mean, this isn't something that the trade just came out a little bit ago, but this isn't something that he just made.
Yeah, no,
6 months before the trade came out. I mean, this is something he's been working on since like 2006, 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
And it was self-published in the beginning before it was picked up by Skybound. So, I mean, this is something he's been working on for a long time.
Right.
So
Oh,
I
that's
mean,
good.
so even now, it's it's been 5-6 years. So I could see where the second volume, he's grown a lot
Right.
and found the character a little bit more. And I haven't read the second series yet, Malpractice, but I really want to. And I've heard a lot of really good things. And that's actually, I read the first issue when this came out in single issues, and I thought it was good. I liked it, but it just wasn't enough for me to want to keep following it because there's so many things that was going on, and comics are expensive and whatever, so it just didn't grab me enough. But then when the second miniseries came out, so many people were so excited for it, and talked about how much, once it came out, talked about how much they liked the first series, that's actually what made me go back and read it.
Yeah.
So I am really excited to read the second volume, and it's great to hear that it was even better, because that was one of the things too, is I felt just by reading it that there was so much potential there.
Yeah, June 19th. Go out and buy it. It's good.
Yeah,
All right.
I definitely want to read it.
Cool.
I
Me too.
I think the thing that gets me about this, and the reason I'm willing to overlook maybe some of the smaller gaps, is because when you read the part about the Archons and about how the monsters of today are where the flora and fauna of their bodies and like their parasites and stuff. That's not that's like something you think, like that whole background. That's something you put a lot of thought into, and I think it's very rare to me that somebody puts that much thought into setting and doesn't put an equal amount of thought into character. It's happened. It's definitely happened. I think that
you definitely get the sense that these are ideas that he's been playing with
for a while.
For 20 years.
Yeah, and so
reading stuff and putting it together and turning
Yeah.
it around in his head and going, okay, how do we make sense of all of these disparate, horror and Cthulhu and science
Right.
fiction and all of these elements, and turning it into his own thing.
Yeah.
And that stuff is really great. Like I love the stage building in
Yeah.
the series.
The extinction of the dinosaurs because there were like ancient gods that came
Yeah.
to the
And, like,
planet
rewrote-
rewrote.
Well, that's all pretty
The
standard.
universe and stuff.
Like
Yeah, but it's execution.
and that's what I'm talking about. It's like
Yeah.
I think that whereas you get to take something like Barry Ween, right, which is about a super genius but goes the opposite from Star Trek, right? There's no explanations because you wouldn't understand it anyways, which is
Yeah.
a great way to get around that whole thing, because the story is
Yeah.
not about necessarily
How
about
you got there.
what he's inventing, right?
Right.
It's about shenanigans.
Yeah.
It's about
Right.
Barry being this foul-mouthed little kid and the shit he gets into because of his best friend.
Right.
And I feel like this is, like, Brandon Seifert puts a lot of thought into, like, that terminology he uses and what he's calling things and how,
Yeah.
like, that's not something you do in, like, a throwaway character. So
Yeah.
I think,
And actually,
yeah.
that does remind me, there is one other afterword that I read after the first, which is where he's talking about the design for the fairies. Actually, I don't think it was him. It was the artist who was
Yeah.
writing that one. And he's like, I tried a bunch of different designs and none of them worked. And then Brandon sent me like a picture of a pregnant Barbie doll, which apparently they sell.
That's the thing.
And they like they showed the image of like the design that they were doing, like just the character sketch. And I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh shit, that's fucking creepy as hell.
Yeah.
That was really awesome.
Yeah.
One other thing that he talks about, kind of going back to the science and stuff like that, that I thought was kind of cool, that is he talks about how with horror's evolved. Initially, all these characters that we all know, the zombie, the vampire, the werewolf, now the incarnations that we deal with are all ones that are like infection based. If
Right.
you get bit by a vampire, you become a vampire. If you get bit by a werewolf, you become a werewolf.
Right.
You get bit by a zombie, you become a zombie.
Right.
It's all disease stuff. But the initial incarnations of all these characters didn't have anything to do with
Yeah.
disease or infection.
Yeah.
A zombie was something that a witch doctor or a sorcerer
Brought back to
brought
life.
back. It was a
Yeah.
dead body that they brought back to life to use as a slave.
Right.
A werewolf or like a vampire was someone who just was bad. They were a
and
bad
died
person
badly.
and died.
Well,
they
they were undead too. Like they came back from the dead. Like you
Yeah.
didn't become a vampire by like being bitten by a vampire. Like ancient Romanian legend, they would just like, oh, that guy got up. He just wasn't all the way dead. So they started like planting trees over people's graves to like keep them in the ground, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So like it's old school legend stuff
Yeah.
where it's
Yeah.
just like
And-
people coming back from the dead, not necessarily because they got bit or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well,
you
it
kind
was almost like a curse or a pall over
Yeah.
your soul. Like, you were walking by the crossroads at midnight and you looked into a witch's eyes.
Yeah.
And then he got like really morose and then he died 3 weeks later and now he rises from the dead.
He's got a monkey tail, and
That's what
he
happened
needs
to
some
me.
voodoo to get it.
Is that where your tail came from?
Never look a witch in the eye, Joe.
Yeah.
She
You
was
know
fine,
that.
dude. I mean, she was.
fine
I wouldn't be
ass
staring. I wouldn't be staring at her
Yeah.
eyes.
Why are you looking at her eyes?
Maybe it's because you stared at her tits.
Oh, I thought we were using eyes as a euphemism. I'm sorry.
Oh, right.
Oh, okay.
I mean, but you shouldn't do that other thing either. Like, they don't
Yeah.
like it.
Oh.
Dude,
It's kind of like Conan when he
Come on,
finds
dude.
the witch and she's like, yeah,
What-
and then
what's-
he's got to throw her
what's-
in the fire and it's
Joe,
so bad.
what's the one thing that we know about witches' tits?
They're cold.
They are.
Cold as ice.
Hers weren't. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't know because she shot me down because I'm sad.
Well, you're not a vampire. Yeah.
And
You don't
witches-
sparkle.
you don't
As far as you
sparkle
know,
in the
I'm
moonlight.
not. This is not Batman Red Rain. It's just Batman. So
Just
far.
regular
just
ass.
regular
Batman.
Batman.
This is a regular ass
Just
Batman.
regular old Batman here. Nothing to see. Keep moving. Keep moving.
All right.
Right.
Should we recommend stuff?
I think it's that time.
Is it? I don't know.
That time of
I
the-
mean, I
that
think
time of the
there's so
episode?
many other things we could talk about. But
Do
we
you
can
want to talk
recommend
about
some-
more stuff?
Let's talk about. No, I got nothing.
Okay. Then
Yeah, I
let's-
mean, well,
Well, we can
Witch
wrap up.
Doctor,
I mean,
Witch
I
Doctor's a good book.
was gonna
Right.
say.
No,
I think,
yeah.
I think the
Check it out.
consensus is it's definitely something to check out.
I would
Yeah.
recommend it to horror fans. I would recommend it to like supernatural type stuff.
Well, there was
fans,
a
for sure.
book we talked about on the podcast probably a few months ago called North 40.
Uh,
And if you picked that up and you read it and you liked North 40, I think you'll like Witch
Yeah.
Doctor.
Yeah, definitely.
Also-
It's
It's
definitely in the
it's
same
very
vein.
much into, and we've
With
also talked a lot about
Wormwood.
Lock and Key, and I think if you like Lock and Key,
And Wormwood.
this and if you liked Wormwood, this is all in the vein there.
Yeah.
Like Lock and Key is a lot darker,
And
but
if you read the Hellblazer book, we did too.
yep.
Yeah. So we definitely recommended a lot of stuff in this kind of
It's-
genre and the 30 Days of Night too. So
It's kind of weird that this is, I mean, it's Cthulhuoid, it's kind of horror, but
Mm-hmm.
it's very lighthearted.
Yeah, it really
Well,
is.
and that's
Yeah.
what I liked about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, I generally don't like dark, grim, like, everything is fucking horrible, forever stuff. I like this.
And
Oh yeah,
I-
the happy ending that the kid gets at the beginning.
Like, even
It's
Penny
like, it's not
Dreadful, which is a
great.
character that's
Oh, yeah.
kind of horrific. Like, she's kind of cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I,
Well, it's
She wakes up at one
I
point and she's
love-
like,
Well,
I'm
and-
hungry. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, you're a little girl.
I love
Your
her
girl's a hideous
internal
monster.
her internal
Internal
battle
yeah,
is great.
it's
I was
really
gonna say
good.
that's
The
what
internal
made-
dialogues
made
are
me like
really
her.
good.
Me
I
too.
thought she was
But-
kind of two-dimensional up until that
I
point.
feel
Yeah, when
like
she's
she's
got her, like,
all
Feelers out and she's just like not moving and they're like, what's happening?
Like, it's an easy
What's she
character to
doing?
get wrong.
Absolutely.
And it's the one that he gets the most right.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the mysterious weapon is most often the one that's going to get fucked up because you're going to feel like, oh, they were just shoehorned in there because they needed this weird kind of thing, or you know, they're OP or whatever. But Penny Dreadful definitely, in that first book, in the black and white, in the one shot, I was definitely like, there she is. The stereotypical character. But then she became something completely different, and I was
Yeah.
like, wait, she's good.
Yeah,
I
and,
like it.
and reading the trade versus reading the single issues, they put the 0 issue at the end, and that was the right fucking move because the 0 issue I felt like worked so much better after you already knew all the characters.
Yeah.
Because you don't fall into that where you
Exactly,
go,
yeah.
here's another two-dimensional character. At that point, you already know her, you already care about her.
Well, but even reading the 0 issue first, they did it well. They did it right. Like, they don't show you they don't give you an indication as to what she is. They don't give you an indication as to totally what she can do. You just see it happen, and then you're just kind of like, what? And you're kind of forced. Like, I flipped back and forth a few times going, wait a minute, what's going on? And then I was like, okay, well, I'll just keep going on. And then as I read the trade, I was like,
Well, it did a good job of setting my expectations.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And exactly where they should be, which I thought was good. So yeah, pick it up. It's fun. It's a great read, and it's better than anything DC's doing right now.
Yeah, I mean, and now that the second trade's out, or coming out very soon,
Yeah.
like you can pick both of them up and kind
Yeah.
of read them both. And have,
Also,
like, good
random
space.
note, the 0 issue in the trade is colored, not black and white.
Oh, is it?
That's
Yeah.
what I get for grabbing single issues.
Yeah, there you go. Well, you liked the black and white, though.
I was gonna say,
Yeah, I
I
did.
actually
Yeah, okay.
looking over Toby's shoulder, I kind of like the black and white.
I was
too.
like, I
I
didn't
think
get to
it lends
experience
itself
in
to
black
black
and
and
white.
white.
So.
I think it definitely lends itself to black and white, but I would not have been upset if this had been entirely in black and white. I like the color.
Yeah, I do too, actually.
Mostly because I like the fact that they gave Excalibur a blood red blade.
Yeah, I was
that's
kind of
pretty
wondering
badass.
about that because it doesn't look like anything shining or noble. Like, honestly, I was looking at that thing and I'm like, that looks like they hacked a bone off an Archon or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, which leads like some interesting questions about Excalibur,
Yeah.
which I like.
And it does it
Right.
without drawing attention to it, which I think
Right.
is good storytelling.
It is.
Because you're kind of like, well, what?
Is this the same Excalibur? That...
Yeah.
Well, actually, isn't Excalibur... Okay, maybe I'm wrong about my Arthurian legend, but the Sword and the Stone and Excalibur are two separate
Yes,
swords.
that's true.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I
Yes.
thought. So this is not Excalibur.
Right.
No,
the
but
the
she's
sword and the Arthur gets Excalibur from the Lady in the Lake
Like,
right.
yes.
after
But
he
it's-
loses the sword.
The sword and the stone is the stone put there by Uva Pendragon.
Uther.
Uther.
Yeah.
Uther Pendragon.
Right.
And he says whoever pulls this stone is a badass.
He's gonna become king of
But
England. is
he's
what
not
he says.
very bright about things because then his wife goes on to have sex with like his first lieutenant, and then
His sister. He sleeps with his sister.
he sleeps with his sister, and then his
'Cause
mentor
who-
gets
who
killed.
hasn't?
And it is bad. It's just another
Right?
way.
'Cause who-
It's just
'cause
another
who hasn't
example
done
of
that?
the patriarchy blaming women is what it is. Okay, come on, come on.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So you can't turn my mic down without turning yours.
I know, it's the worst.
Yes. But no, yes, they are two separate things.
Yeah.
So
That's
but
what I thought. So, which leads me to an interesting question because she calls it Excalibur at
yeah,
some point.
she says
But he
specifically
also
that it's
says
Excalibur.
it will go sword in the stone.
But
I
I think that most people think that it's
the same.
the same.
Yeah,
it could
no,
even
I-
be just that a
And-
nickname, you know. She.
No,
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
which is what I thought too. Is like maybe this isn't the same
But
sword
then,
Arthur used. It's just a magic sword that lets you be sorcerer or whatever.
well. Then I love that it has to learn.
Yeah, that
I love
was
that it
really
has to
good, too.
fucking learn.
He's like beating the
It's
crap out
just
of
like,
this.
I thought you said it couldn't hurt her, and he's like, not yet. It has to learn
Yeah,
how.
to
And then
teach
he's
it
just
how.
like, it's
Yeah.
like, I mean, such a cool idea.
yeah,
Such a cool idea.
I really liked it too.
Yeah.
One thing to note, though, unless you know your history, as you guys apparently do, is as the legends had passed on about the Sword and the Stone and Excalibur, for most people they became the same
Same
legend.
room.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
Yeah, I
absolutely.
was actually just looking it up on Wikipedia, and I mean, going back hundreds of years, like there's a lot of confusion as to whether they're the same sword or different swords.
Right.
And I mean, as different people have told the story, it's taken on different aspects.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's That's a tricky thing. It's because it's magic, right? So it could be the same. So who
Well,
knows?
they're all legend. You know, it's all legend from
Yeah.
an earlier era, and they were pretty. They were written roughly, I think, like 400 years after Arthur supposedly was
Yeah, I mean,
alive.
these
right?
were oral stories before
Right.
they were ever written down.
Yeah.
And they were this was like Renaissance stuff, and they added a lot of like French romanticism to a story about a king who
Yeah.
essentially was an Iron Age king, so
Yeah.
probably didn't have the same moral
Also,
and romantic
none of this has
ideals.
any impact on the story.
I know,
whatsoever.
it
No,
really doesn't.
but
This
it
is
makes-
us just being hot shit, like looking at so much we know.
No, I just like it led me to like really like want to know more about his sword and
No,
like, where
totally.
he got it and what it's from and who had it
Right.
before. And that's what's really interesting to me
Yeah.
is like there's a lineage of characters here
Yeah.
because he obviously isn't the first
First to
person
have
to
the sword.
pull this out. So like I'm
Absolutely.
curious about that. So it sets up.
Yeah, I'd
this
definitely
good-
be interested. I'd be interested to know how it is that he came to be pulling the sword out.
Mhm.
Like,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
where was it that he decided to give it a shot?
Yeah, well, and as Toby said earlier, like it's good stage building. Like
Yeah.
it's really interesting world building, and I'm curious and I want to dig more into that.
Which
universe.
is good storytelling.
You know,
I
maybe
agree.
he just was King Arthur and then disappeared
it
one
is.
day, and they thought he died
Yeah.
in battle.
Well, I know
There
where
you
King
go.
Arthur
That'd
is.
be a
He's
hell of a
on that
story.
island with Etrigan.
The demon.
Demon Knights. It's actually one of the few good things DC is doing right now. If it's
Yeah, they
still-
canceled
got
it.
canceled.
Did they? Of course they did! Because it was good.
Well, it didn't get canceled. There's just a new writer coming in
Oh,
starting.
well, Dwayne.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
didn't go by
No,
mine.
yeah, the
Wait,
last issue is going to be August.
Yep. It's
Dwayne's. I can't say his name right now, but he was doing a great job. Oh, no, wait, he was doing Birds of Prey.
Cornell.
Demon Knights. What?
It was Cornell or
Maybe.
Something.
I can't remember right now off the top of my head, but
can't either.
it was good stuff.
But yeah, they canceled that. They canceled Dial H for Hero, which is apparently really good.
Yeah, I heard that.
I mean, basically everything good
I
that they're
haven't read
doing,
but I
they're
heard mixed
just
things about
shitting all over.
Yeah.
Well, they basically can only make good decisions.
I mean, at this
we've
point,
learned about
Yeah.
DC.
DC only
They only
does
ever
the
make-
best possible
yeah.
thing, and I really think they should be praised for it. I
Yeah.
mean,
Joe and I love them.
I got so like bringing Jim Lee and Bob Harris to bring like the comic book company into a new era.
Mhm.
I was just maybe not just one of the best decisions in comic books, but maybe one of the best decisions ever made in the history of time.
Getting rid of
I mean,
all
just,
of
like-
your young talent.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean,
like Nicholas Scott and Brian
totally.
Q. Miller and all
Bringing
them,
in
you know,
Orson
getting
Scott
rid of all of
Card,
them. Yeah.
a noted homophobe, to
Uh-huh.
like write a Superman title.
Yeah.
This is like sheer
Well, that's
unadulterated
The
brilliance.
one thing I know about Superman is that he's homophobic.
He hates. Yeah,
he does
no,
not
does.
treat anyone equally.
You definitely
Absolutely.
don't want to adulterate your brilliance.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And the thing is that I'm going to ignore Toby making fun of me, and I'm going to say that there was a less reported on story that they wanted to bring in the Grand Dragon of the KKK to write Batman titles, but
Oh,
he didn't really have any.
They
you
didn't
know,
go through.
No. They thought
Oh.
that.
I wanted to read that.
He actually
They
did.
thought it would
It's
skew
He's
badly.
a
with-
dragon.
Yeah, I know, right?
He flies.
I'm
and
like,
breathes
how is he even
fire.
gonna hold a pen?
He's just a
It's just-
dragon.
He's
I'm
a
just
dragon.
going to
Is he gonna
ignore
dictate?
all of that sarcasm, and I'm going to suggest we go to recommendations.
Yeah, let's
But
do
seriously, no. If I could recommend anything to you, it's literally anything that DC is putting out right now. You should go and read it, and just
No,
read
it's the
it all.
opposite of that.
Why do
No,
you
it
hate our
totally is.
audience?
Yeah, you went the opposite.
Our
Not that.
non-existent audience.
If anything, you should go to buy DC Comics and just not
Don't
buy
do
DC
it.
Comics
Don't do
and
it.
buy something good
Buy
instead.
some Marvel.
Marvel
buy I
now.
Kill Giants.
No,
buy
what
Witch
you should
Doctor.
do is you should go back into the trade section and buy something old by DC, something good.
Yeah, Cosmic
Preferably.
Odyssey.
That's true.
Yeah.
Cosmic Odyssey,
Preferably by way
Birthright.
Batman. Oh man.
Because
You
DC
missed-
has
I
done a
recommended
lot of good
Birthright last
stuff.
week.
It
We
just
were
hasn't
gone.
been in the last
We
2
didn't pick it.
years.
It just hasn't been in the last, well, and on and off for the last 5 years. Anyways, recommendations.
Yeah, let's do it. Joe, what do you want?
I think I brought this before. I'm actually almost
Yeah.
positive. I wanted to bring it again because it's good, and you fucking guys are gonna vote for it this time. Otherwise, I'm gonna hurt
Is that
you.
Astro City?
Yes.
I think you brought it twice, actually.
No,
Wait,
I've
have
only
you?
bought it once.
Okay.
I thought it was.
I was gonna
Okay,
talk
you know
about it on
what?
superhero tonight.
Three times the charm. That's cool. Whatever. I'll go for it. I'm gonna make another pitch.
Let's hear it.
It's the classic redemption story.
Oh, this is Tarnished Angel.
This
by
is
the way.
Tarnished
okay,
Angel.
Yeah. I thought you
Who's it by?
It's Kurt Busiek, Astro City, which is in the vein of Invincible and other things we talked about,
Top
which
10.
is a top 10, which is a much more like, if superheroes really existed, shit would get fucked up all the time because you can't punch somebody through a building and have that building collapse and not kill everybody in the building.
Well, it's about consequence. and
It's-
it's
yeah,
about
exactly.
You know, like how a superhero would kind of exist in our
In a real world.
In a real world, like what they would think about.
And this is a good one. It's a villain that has gotten out of jail for the 5th or 6th time, and really all he wants to do is make good. You know, he just want to and I don't even know that he wants to make good at first. He just wants to keep his nose clean. He doesn't want to go back to jail. He looks back on his life and he feels like he's kind of a failure, and you know he's got some things to make up for, and he gets embroiled in this huge kind of in all these murders that are going on, and it kind of forces him into a position where he has to do something about it. But I think it's a really great trip to take, and it's written well. It's Kurt Busiek, and I think he nails it, and I think he has something to say about the nature of villains too. I think he does a really good job of representing the different kinds that there are. So you have characters that are much more out of the rogues gallery, and characters that are much more out of like Batman's villains and things of that nature. So I think it's a good read, and I'm hoping that if I keep bringing it back, that you'll read it. So just read it, like just read it.
Yeah.
Da dun dun da dun dun. Read it. I'm sorry.
No.
You're done.
I went there.
You're done.
All right.
Tell me.
I brought Phonogram, Britannia by Kieran Gillen and Jamie McKelvey, who you may know from their fabulous success at Marvel.
It's fabulous.
Oh, it's absolutely fabulous. Blah, blah, blah. This came out in, I think, 2007. It was it was their first collaboration. I think it was both of their first work in the comics industry. I'm just looking real quick. Yeah, 2007. It definitely smacks of the freshman effort. It's a little rough around the edges. The writing is a little bit hazy in a few places. Jamie McKelvey is not nearly as evolved an artist then as he is 5 years later. These are two guys who I see as being up-and-coming superstars in the comics industry, and this is where they started out. It's a really great book. It's black and white. There's, again, a lot of great set building here. It's a world in which there are phonomancers, people who do magic through music. Not music that they create, but music that they listen to. The emotional attachment that they get from listening to different bands, the passion of following a group or a song that you really like, they translate into magic. And it's about this guy who's basically tasked by a spirit to find out what's happened to the kind of personification of Britpop, which is kind of weird, but it works within the context of the story, and it's kind of about him going on a journey of self-reflection and discovery about where he's been and where he wants to go in his life. And it's really interesting. It's kind of different from a lot of stuff. It's magical, but it's also introspective, and there's a lot to love there, even though it is rough around the edges.
That sounds good.
It's good. It is rough around the edges, and I sometimes think it's a little too introspective, but I thought overarching the plot is really interesting. Side note, the copy that Toby has, I got signed for him.
Yes, you did.
Aren't you cool?
And
Jeff?
I'm really bummed that I did not get to meet Jamie McKelvey, because he's one of
yes.
my absolute favorite artists, to the extent that I like his solo work, Suburban Glamour, which, in all honesty, is not very well written, but his art is fucking incredible.
Yeah, and he was a super nice guy too. I was bummed for you that you could not meet him. But
Well,
yeah, super nice guy.
Hopefully he'll be back in the area sometime, and I'll be able to get Suburban Glamour signed, and I'll be able to tell him how much I like his art.
Yes.
Because it is great. Like, really great.
No,
I think
it is.
He is probably among my absolute favorite artists right now.
I love his style,
And
especially in that.
And he's gotten a hell of a lot better.
Yeah.
There's actually a part in this where Elton John shows up, and if they didn't tell you who it was, you would have no fucking clue.
Right.
Because he looks nothing like Elton John. And McKelvey's gotten a hell of a lot better since then.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and I have the sequel to this, Phonograph Singles, which
Phonogram Singles Club,
Singles Club is what it's called.
which I don't have and need to get.
It's good. I actually bought it from him, but I'm glad I did because it is more polished and the art is a little tighter in it, and it's a lot of fun. It's an interesting idea.
There's been 2 or 3 things at this point that I've labeled freshman efforts and said, I want to follow these guys. And it's this is the reason why I keep saying that. Because I saw this in 2007, I grabbed it, and I went, these guys are going somewhere. I want to follow them. And they have gone somewhere.
Yeah.
And they are 2 of the best, in my opinion, right now. And you should check out the stuff that they're doing at Marvel. Gillian was doing Journey into Mystery for something like 31 issues. All the Young Loki stuff was him, and they're now collaborating again on Young Avengers.
Young Avengers.
Yeah.
And it's a great book if you like music, especially if you like obscure Britpop bands.
Yeah, I knew nothing about Britpop bands, and I was able to follow along with it, although I feel like my appreciation of it would be much higher if I knew 90s Britpop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tricky, but it's worth picking up.
It is. Matt?
All right. So I brought the Indestructible Hulk Volume 1, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. by Mark Waid and Lionel Francis Yu. I brought it basically because I'm not a huge Hulk fan in general. There are good Hulk stories out there, but overall as a character, I feel like he's somewhat two-dimensional. And this is one of the Marvel Now titles that has just been coming out in the last year or so. And the Indestructible Hulk itself is actually one of my favorite titles that's going on right now. Basically the premise of it is Bruce Banner sits down with Maria Hill and basically says, look, I'm tired of all the destruction that I've done. I want to try to do some good instead of trying to kill the Hulk, which I've realized I can't do, and I want to do good. And so I want to work for S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm going to, start solving all these world issues because I'm a genius on the Bruce Banner, level, and I want to start contributing. And she's like, well, that's great, but what are we going to do about the Hulk? And he said, well, that's perfect. All we're going to do is when I become the Hulk, I'll be a weapon. You'll drop me where you want shit fucked up, and I'll fuck it up for you. And then when I change back, I'll go back and start working. And so that's the first issue, and it kind of goes through. He basically assembles a team and just starts working for S.H.I.E.L.D. The art is awesome, and it's Mark Waid writing it. So I don't feel like I need much more of a pitch than that. But
when Sam described it to me, he basically was like, "Oh yeah, Banner just tells S.H.I.E.L.D. to use him like a gun.
Yeah,
it's like aiming where you want me.
That's pretty much it. He
takes
says
shit out."
Yeah.
Is this the one with the panel where they're like talking and they're like, we figured out a way to pacify the Hulk, and they're like, how? And they're like, it's the guy in the background showing him like a PDA or something. It's like pictures of puppies. And then he reverts back. I saw this on the...
I don't...
Maybe it's not.
I've read it all in single issues, and so I don't remember every single panel, but I don't remember that.
Okay, maybe it was a different title, or maybe it's a...
See, I'm actually a little bit disappointed because where I'm sitting, I can only see the bottom of the comic because Matt's sitting next to me and there's a thing in between us. And so I can see where it says Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. and I was kind of disappointed because I was hoping he brought Bruce Wayne, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. from Amalgam.
Because he's sick in the head.
Yeah.
Because he needs help. And if you know the name of a good therapist,
we only recommend good books on this podcast, so...
We only recommend
That's objectively not true.
We only recommend books that don't make you hate being alive on this podcast.
That means you don't hate being alive when you read Old Man Logan.
No, I don't.
Oh, it's recorded. It's recorded.
Not
it's
been compared to Bruce Wayne,
it's on the air.
Agent of
It's on the air.
S.H.I.E.L.D.
You can't take it back. You can't take it back.
Again,
I got you.
objectively, not everything we recommend is good. Old Man
Saying
Logan.
that I don't hate life when I read Old Man Logan
Yeah,
and saying
you
that it's
like it.
good are totally different
Love it.
things.
It's your favorite book. That's
It's
what you
not.
said. I got
I
it.
did
It's
not.
recorded. You can listen back to it. I win.
I said no such thing in the recording will bear me up on this one.
You said you love it. Don't lie.
So I just want to say that I know the panel that you're talking about, Joe. I've read that before, but since I've never read this, I'm positive it's not in here.
Okay, all right. So it's not. I thought it was hilarious because I just thought of like there's a term on the internet called eye bleach, and it's where you can go to a site that has eye bleach on it after you've seen something horrible, and it's basically like frolicking kittens and puppies and like all kinds of nice soothing things that
By
make
the way,
you
I wouldn't
forget
want to be the guy that was his job, though, to have to calm down.
the Hulk, right?
Hulk
with,
I like
pictures
the idea of the
puppies.
Hulk kind of standing there being like, oh, Hulk smash, and just like, look at the puppies, Hulk. Look at the puppies. And he's like, puppies? Ah, puppies, yes.
That might work with the Hulk, but I can't unsee the things I've seen on the internet.
I can't either, but I didn't say it makes you unsee them. I said it soothes you.
That's great. They will forever haunt my nightmares.
So what did you bring, Cade?
I brought a book that was originally a webcomic and is now in trade paperbacks. It's called Freak Angels by Warren Ellis and Paul Duffield. Duffield?
I think it's Duffield.
Duffield. And it's about 720-somethings with superpowers who are living in a post-apocalyptic wasteland.
Yeah.
It's true.
Got some pretty interesting and adult things. It reminds me a little of Transmet in some ways, but is nowhere near Transmet worthy as far as Warren Ellis can be.
You mean it's not as Ellisian as it could be, while still being kind of Ellisian?
Yeah, you can definitely tell it's a Warren Ellis book.
Yeah.
All right.
Because only 5 things are transmit worthy, and 4 of them are transmit. The other one is never to be spoken about. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
I'm curious what this
Yeah,
fifth one is
I'm actually
now.
just confused.
The 5th one is also transmit.
Well, there's also Planetary,
Yeah, but that's totally different feel to it.
but it's super awesome.
It is super awesome, yes. It is
But-
super awesome.
This is a book that I read when it was coming out in single issue, or not single issues, but webcomic form. And
Yeah, originally it was going up like 6 pages once a week.
Yeah. And each 6 pages was called an episode. That was a weekly thing. And I started when it was on maybe episode 36. I never finished it, but it always seemed like a really polished comic to me, like a trade paperback worthy one. And apparently it is a trade paperback now, so I figured I should recommend it.
Yeah, they've got about 5 or 6.
More than that. I think
Is
they
it?
have 9 or
Okay.
10 actually.
Oh wow.
I eschewed it because it was Warren Ellis kind of trying to do the webcomics thing, but he wrote it as an entire comic and just put it up like, here's a bunch of pages every
Yeah.
week,
Mm-hmm.
which I think really kills what makes webcomics different and interesting.
Yeah.
That's what.
And he was kind of ham-handed about it, and so I just kind of I read the first couple of updates and I was like,
It's
fuck
Yeah,
less of
yeah.
a webcomic and more of like an experimental distribution method.
Yeah.
right. And that's the thing
Yeah.
is that he was billing it as a webcomic, and I
Right,
was
yeah.
expecting a webcomic, and I didn't get a webcomic.
Yeah, Joe and I
I
talked
got
about
a
this
Warren
little bit,
Ellis
too.
print comic on the web.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
It definitely. I never read it on online. I never read it as a webcomic. I only read it in trade format, and I couldn't read it. I couldn't read it as a webcomic.
Yeah, I
It
could
just-
not either.
But as a trade, I loved it.
Right, and it's one of those things that I've had in the back of my head, like, I should really check that out because I like Warren Ellis, but I've never gotten around to it.
Yeah, I could never. Warren Ellis needs to have a broad canvas, and the internet is, I don't think, well, the format he was releasing them in was not
Well,
not big enough a canvas for him.
I think he was just writing comics. He
Well,
just
yeah.
wanted to distribute them not
In
through
a,
a
yeah, in a
publisher,
more
right?
democratic way, which is, I'm just saying that he was releasing them webcomic, but it was pretty much you were getting like individual pages of a comic.
Right.
He wasn't releasing a comic in a web.
It's not
format.
paced like a webcomic.
Exactly.
The thing about Warren Ellis is that Warren Ellis doesn't write serials. He writes
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. And then they're serialized.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. and
Well,
that's
it's just
kind of
it's the fault of our industry, not of Ellis. in
Absolutely,
that, like,
yeah.
That's how we get our comics, but that's not necessarily like the most perfect delivery system.
Right. Well,
Absolutely.
I mean, there are some people who write like, here's a story, and I'm going to release it over this time period or whatever, and it's got a beginning, a middle, and end. And there are people who write serials where it's just like, and then this happened, and then that happened, and then this
Right,
happened, and then
right.
that happened.
Tune
And
in next
Ellis
week
is
and-
very strongly in the story
Yeah,
end of
like
things.
really, if everything was a perfect world, like Ellis would just hand us all of Planetary at once.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, we wouldn't have to wait to get each issue because it's not how he thinks about it. You know, like we would just get a finished product, and he'd be
Yeah,
like, "Yep,
so-
here you go. Give me $250."
The
It's
web-
like, okay.
The webcomic
take
format
all my money,
where
Warren
you're
Ellis.
releasing one page a day or one page every other day is not suited for him.
Yeah, no. I mean, it was an experiment. I think it worked fine because it drummed up interest for the book, and now we have it in trade paperbacks, and that's better.
Yeah.
Right.
And eventually we'll have it in 1 or 2 giant fat omnibus things, and that'll be even better. So, like, we're getting it. Just like is
Yeah.
kind of a long route too.
It's the difference between a novel and a series of short stories with the same characters.
Yeah.
Warren Ellis writes novels.
Yeah.
Serial writers write short stories that have the same characters over
Yeah.
and over.
That is actually kind of interesting because people used to release novels in serial format,
Yeah.
where there would be a magazine and they release like one chapter every month,
Yeah,
and then
all the
when all
crime-
the serials
Black
had been
Man.
released, then they put out the novel.
Alexander Dumas. did
Right.
that. He's famous for doing that.
Oh yeah, but Maltese Falcon was.
But
in
like even up through
Black Mask or whatever, the crime fiction magazine.
It
even.
may have been.
So
even up through the 60s, because I
Yeah.
know my father, who I've mentioned as a science fiction writer in the past, one of his early books was released serialized,
Yeah.
and then later was put out as a novel.
yeah.
Well, yeah, I remember reading literature magazines when I was a kid. 'Cause my aunt was a librarian, so she would subscribe me to like literature magazines and
Right,
stuff.
and
And so you'd get like a chapter of a book every issue. So even in the 80s, early 90s, like there
And
was stuff like
it
that.
was the same way for music too. For a long time, like bands would release singles, and then when they had 10 or 12 singles, they put out an album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's only been since like the late 60s and the 70s that we've gotten novels that are released as like an entire thing by itself, and music albums where the entire album is like one entire story that
It's funny
evolves.
that that's going away now too.
Yeah,
The
it
album
totally
is
is.
essentially dead now.
Sort of.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like
It's
music,
changing.
music distribution wise. Like, why pay $9.99 for a whole album when you can just buy the song you like for $1?
Which is a better way to do it.
Yeah, so it's kind of sad, but
No.
we're kind of going
Well,
back
I mean,
to like
it was only
serialized
like a
music.
couple of years ago that the Decemberists put out. It's not Castaways and Cutouts. What was their album?
I know the one you're talking about, and I cannot remember.
Yeah,
the name
but
of it.
basically the entire album is a story.
Yeah.
Well, but a lot of them are.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like,
Decemberists do that a lot.
the
But-
way that you purchase
But
music is
right, but it's getting to the
point.
point where people do that because they want to, not because they have to.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you get bands like Daft Punk that release albums around a central concept, so having the whole album makes sense. And then you get people like The Strokes, where you can just get the songs you like off the album, and you don't have to worry about anything else.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it is like an album in the sense of like it's cohesive. But
Yeah.
it is hard when the distribution method like makes you want to only make singles.
Yeah,
Like, as a
yeah.
musician, you're like, why release a whole album? I'll just release singles forever.
Yeah.
You know, so that's
Make
kind
a
of
shit ton of money.
Yeah,
That's the
'cause,
way to do it, I
That's
think.
how
I
people
mean,
buy it. So
A lot of albums aren't worth owning the whole thing,
Yeah,
you know?
that's fair enough.
So what did you bring, Chard?
I brought a book that I'm actually surprised I haven't recommended before. I went and double checked the list because I was like, "There's no way I haven't brought that." Because I could tell everybody to read this
I was gonna
book.
say, I think that's one of the first things you ever recommended to me.
I recommend this to everybody. It's called G.I. Joe Cobra, and I don't know anything about G.I. Joe or particularly like G.I. Joe, so this always feels like a weird book to recommend to people. But it's about a G.I. Joe character that most people don't know, even if they are fans of G.I. Joe, is Chuckles, who's the Hawaiian shirt-wearing,
I know
kinda
who you're talking about.
wisecracking guy.
I'm sort of a fan of G.I. Joe. I mean, I watched the cartoon when I was a kid. I collected the Marvel comic like crazy.
Yeah.
I had from issue maybe like 16 up until they canceled it in the early 90s at like issue, I want to say like
one.
it's like
something.
120 or 130 something.
Yeah, that sounds right.
But in any case, like I know who you're talking about, but if you just said Chuckles to me, I wouldn't have been able to tell you which one it was.
He's kind of like this, jokery Hawaiian shirt-wearing character, and I don't know anything about him previous to this work, so I don't know if holds up. But in this work, he's an undercover agent.
Yeah, he's like the face from the
Yeah.
A-Team.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. So in this book, this was with the relaunch of G.I. Joe that they did at IDW, where they basically like started everything over. So like Cobra is a new terrorist organization. G.I. Joe is a new,
Anti-terrorist organization.
task force. Like all this stuff is pretty new. All these characters are getting introduced. This was one of the first run of books, and they set the story as to G.I. Joe has a guy who can go undercover anywhere. He's really good. His name is Chuckles. We just found out about a brand new terrorist organization that we know nothing about. Let's send in Chuckles. Turns out it's Cobra. Turns out he's in really deep. Turns out everything's super fucked up, and Chuckles is kind of, lost out in this undercover world, and he has to live this double lifestyle where he can't trust anyone. He has no friends. He has no way to communicate with the Joes. He's just kind of like, I guess I'm just a terrorist now. Like, really, if anybody stopped me, they would just think I was a terrorist. So he's just kind of living this villainous lifestyle. He's a really interesting character because even though he still has to live this villainous lifestyle, he has a moral compass. He has feeling, and he has a weakness. Women are his weakness. So that kind of plays into it well because there's the Joe women that he's entangled with, but there's also a lot of Cobra women, like Baroness, that he, meets and is entangled with. And the big Cobra players in this one are not like Cobra Commander or anything. That comes later, but in this one, I believe it's just Tomax and Zaymot are the big faces of Cobra that he first meets. So later on in the series, they introduce, like, Crocodile, Reptile Master. What is that guy's name?
Oh, Zartan.
Well, no, Zartan's in it, but then there's also like Croc Master or something too. So I don't know. But there's like some people that get introduced later, Cobra wise. So
Major Blood.
I think later, yeah, and then Destro, and those guys come up later. So this is just kind of an early introduction to Cobra.
If you read, I think there's 4 or 5 trades out. It's cool because this definitely starts kind of at the ground level. Like, not that I'm an undercover agent myself, but I mean, it definitely feels like the natural progression where it kind of starts out ground level and works his way up.
Yeah.
Within the organization. But yeah, the great thing.
Oh yeah, Serpentor is in it later too, which is
You gotta love Serpentor.
yeah, questionable amongst fans, I guess. But I don't know anything about G.I. Joe, so it was
Cobra
cool.
Commander forever.
Yeah.
No,
I
you
guess.
have to love or Serpentor. This I command.
Oh wow.
Anyways,
I don't know anything about this.
that was-
really, and
these
that's-
words mean nothing.
Cobra
That
Commander
was-
forever, not just Cobra Commander forever, but faceplate Cobra Commander, not hood Cobra Commander, because fuck that shit.
You're wrong, but I appreciate you for trying. This I command was Serpentor's catchphrase in the G.I. Joe cartoon.
Ah. I had a Serpentor action figure. It didn't have a lot of G.I. Joe action figures, but I had that guy, and I was like, what is this
I
guy's deal?
actually had the silver armor Cobra Commander toy.
Oh, mine was
Where
like
he wasn't actually Cobra Commander, he was, oh god, what were their names? So Cobra Commander had his Crimson Guardsmen, who were like his personal guard, and they all had plastic surgery, so they looked the same, and they all had the same name. And one of those dudes betrays him, shoots him in the back, leaves him in a shallow grave, and then takes over his identity.
Oh.
And that's when he wears the silver armor. And that dude ends up getting fucked up. He gets like shot in the head and then locked in this ship with a bunch of other people who all die also. But
What a great children's cartoon.
no, this was all the comic, which was
okay.
much
Oh,
better
okay.
than the cartoon. And actually, I think I mentioned this previously when I talked about Transformers Regeneration 1, but IDW has brought back Larry Hama to pick up G.I. Joe from the old numbering, picking up the old stories. And I haven't checked it out yet, but it's on my list.
Yeah, apparently that stuff, I think it's still IDW, has is been
IDW.
pretty good, yeah. They did do like a Cobra, War of the Cobra, Who Will Command Cobra, like big crossover series with G.I. Joe, and that's when I got lost in the series. So at some point, this book is great because you don't have to pay attention to any of the continuity in any of the other G.I. Joe books until that, which is like the 5th trade. So until that happens, you're like good to go, not reading the rest of the stuff, and then it lost me because I didn't do the crossover. So, but these early like 2 or 3 trades are amazing. I really love this stuff. If you're a fan of like spy fiction, undercover, dirty terrorists, and like mob style stuff, if you like The Departed, the kind of like playing the double game style things, like this book is for you. I really like it. Art's fantastic.
I was flipping through.
Yeah,
I really like the
it's
art.
really cool. It's very pulpy. Christos Gage and Mike Costa write it, and the art is by Antonio Fuso. And it's very like pulpy and brushy coloring style, and it's pretty dynamic, and all the action feels really good, and you get a good feeling of everybody's facial expressions and stuff too. And since there's a lot of emotion in the book, that helps.
Christos Gage did Absolution, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I was trying
which
to
I've
think
also
what else
recommended.
he did.
He did some.
He's done a few
DC
other things,
stuff,
hasn't he,
I think.
too? Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, his name sounds really familiar.
I think he was a DC guy before the 52 thing,
Right.
so I don't know where he is now.
All right.
Joe, what do you want to read?
I want to read G.I. Joe Cobra.
All right.
God, I'm torn. Because part of me, I want to vote for G.I. Joe Cobra, but it made me think of something else I want to recommend. And if we read it this week, then I don't want to read another similar book next week. But I'm going to vote for it. I'm going to vote for it anyway.
All right, G.I. Joe Cobra.
G.I. Joe Cobra.
Matt, what do you want?
I'm going with Phonogram.
Yeah.
Good call.
Astro City.
Okay. And I can't vote for Phonogram. And I was really torn between Phonogram and Hulk, so I'll vote for Hulk. So I don't want to make it a tie.
So,
Alright.
So we are doing
G.I. Joe Cobra.
All right.
Awesome.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
We
Yeah.
love you.
And we will see you next time.
We will. You'll hear us next time.
No, we'll see them,
No,
though.
I
No,
will.
we can
yeah.
see them through the podcast.
They'll
We established
hear us.
this.
They'll
This
hear
is
us.
canon.
Now they
We'll
fucking know, and they're
see.
gonna stop getting naked.
We already said it like several issues. If they're still listening, they don't care that we're watching anymore.
Oh God. Okay. All right.
Alright.
Cool.
Okay.
Peace.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.